Joining us now is UAE crypto lawyer and founder of NeosLegal, Irina Heaver. She is based in Dubai and advises founders and regulators on the region's rapidly evolving laws. Irina, welcome.
Thank you very much for having me. Thank you.
Let's get down to what we want to talk about here, and it is regulation and policy in the United Arab Emirates. There was a recent UAE Central Bank law, and I think that this is top of mind for folks who are operating here. So why don't you just kind of unpack what that law is, what it means, and then we can talk about some of the misconceptions as we navigate through this.
Central Bank of the UAE is in charge of the monetary policy, is in charge of dirham, the currency, as well as the digital dirham, which is a CBDC version of it. The new law came out to sort of take all the little pieces of the legislation that's been around for the last 54 years and consolidate it into one law about the central bank. What do they do? What are their responsibilities? What do they license? Such as payment tokens. We in the industry call it stablecoins, but the UAE Central Bank regulates AED-backed stablecoins. So all of these pieces of information were amalgamated into one law. So there is one clause that raised all these issues, is that central bank regulates banking activities, payment tokens, insurance activities, and many other sort of banking related activities, which is normal. It's all over the world. However, what they have done is that they extended onto blockchain technology. For example, if you're planning to provide banking services in the UAE, you need to have a banking license. Agreed? That's normal. It's like this everywhere in the world. However, if you're trying to position yourself as we're a blockchain bank, that will not relieve you of the liability to obtain the license. That's what the law is. So you cannot argue we're decentralized, we're a protocol. If you're providing banking services as the nature of your product, of your offering, you have to be regulated in the UAE. If you're based in the UAE, if you're targeting the UAE, then of course there's all the other questions. What if we're a protocol based on which neobanking is based? Will I have to be regulated or not? That we have questions around it, right? And we look forward to receiving implementing legislation, how this licensing will be implemented. Because this is the law, and then we always have implementing regulations. So it's not the time to panic, it's not the time to bash UAE, it's the time to be even more bullish about the UAE.
Irina, where do you think the UAE is taking their cues from? Is it from the US? Is it from Europe? Is it from Asia and Singapore? Like, where do you think they're getting inspired? Or do you think they're saying, I want to chart our own?
I think UAE is getting the cue of what not to do from around the world. For example, Dubai 3 years ago established the world's first virtual asset regulatory authority, VARA. Where did they get the cues from? They looked what other countries are doing and they said, we're not going to do that because it's not working, it's failing, it's legislation by enforcement. We do not want that. We want a regulator who understands crypto. We want a regulator who talks to the industry, and that happens all the time. VARA, our regulator, talks to the industry all the time. It's just absolutely amazing how close we all work together. I think UAE is looking what is happening and they're saying we're going to be not doing that because it's not working. And we want to be number one in everything we do. We might not succeed, but at least this is our aim.
So now that the US has really changed its stance, maybe it's getting its cues from some other regions around the world. Do you think that we are going to see some companies that have set up shop here maybe look at US shores?
I can't speak for everybody, right? I can only speak for us. And every week we relocate the largest protocol, the largest exchange, the most advanced founder to the UAE. My firm alone relocated half of Malta, half of Switzerland to the UAE. Yes, I'm very outspoken, I'm very bullish. I'm always in regulators' faces lobbying for permissive regulations, and we've been very successful with RWA, tokenization of real-world assets. So we've lobbied the regulator for 2.5 years, and the law that removes RWAs from securities is here. Would you want to do that in the US? No, because there's a lot of uncertainty. Is that a security? Is that not a security? That is why I believe, competition is great. So if founders believe that the US is a great market for them, fantastic. But if founders want to reach the global south, I'm talking about 4 billion people, if you want to reach that global south of 4 billion people, Dubai, UAE is the place to be.
My final question, you probably are speaking to a lot of companies that are coming to saying, Irina, give us advice. how to work within this region? What are the one or two pieces of advice that you give them about how to correctly set up for regulatory approval or sort of being within the compliance of the law?
This is a great question because so many founders are coming and they make all the mistakes you can imagine. They waste time, they waste money, they waste their resources. So by the time they speak to us, they've already wasted 2 years and $1 million. So what we've done, we wrote the Founder's Guide to the UAE crypto laws. It's literally all the laws that we have transcribed for the founders. We included a lot of pictures, we included the graphs and the charts. You know, I understand it might be a little bit daunting for the founders to deal with the legal matters, but we have this book. We co-authored it together with ADGM, Abu Dhabi Global Markets, with DMCC Crypto Center, and with VARA, our regulator. It was very important for me that this book is not just here's Irina's opinion, it's actually blessed by our government authorities. It's absolutely free, it's available for everybody, and I will encourage, read the book, understand, and if you still have questions, talk to a lawyer you trust, talk to a founder you trust. That's very important, to talk to somebody who actually went through that, made all the mistakes, so you don't do that.
Irina, thanks so much for joining us at the desk. We hope you enjoy the rest of your time here.
Thank you very much for
Thank
having
you.
me.